I want to welcome to the show a Dunedin councillor who is also running for Mayor of Dunedin. It is Marie Laufiso. Marie Laufiso. Marie, hello. Kia ora, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Kia ora. Kia ora.
Kia
Tēnā
ora.
korua.
Before we get into this...
Before we get into this, Pat, I just need to acknowledge a fellow user of the 55 Brockville bus.
Oh, kia ora.
There we go. That was easy. I was going to say, before we get into this, Marie, why don't you tell us about what you're doing with local body elections, what you're running for, so at least the people of Dunedin know a bit about what you're about, and let's do a shout out with all that.
Yes, I am running on a wee ticket called Building Kotahitaka, Building Togetherness, with two other candidates. First time standing, Cindy Elder and Anna Knight. And we're very different. We have very different backgrounds, but because of we think the need to build and collaborate together, that's why we've called ourselves Building Kotahitaka, and trying to sort of get out of campaign outside the box. So it's very exciting collaborating with other socially progressive candidates. So it's been very interesting participating in a wee hub in town.
Do they do any polling or anything for local body? Like, do you know how you're going in the mayoralty race, or do you really just have to wait for the day and that's when you find out?
I think there are polls around, and I heard that there was a poll somewhere, maybe Facebook or I don't know, but I heard that Mr. Raddick, the current incumbent, was polling the lowest out of Mayor Raddick, Mr. Sims, maybe Sophie Barker and Lee Vanderby. Yeah.
And how has it been for you?
And I think Sophie was leading.
How's it been for you, sort of going from councillor to trying to be mayor? Like, how has the interactions been with the other candidates, debates, conversation nights, etc., amongst the other mayoralty candidates?
It's definitely been an interesting journey. Clearly, mayoral candidates have way more opportunities to go to forums. There are forums specifically organised for mayoral candidates. So I guess that's why there are 16 mayoral candidates. So you get more exposure.
Yeah, right.
I'm not particularly focused on the mayoralty itself, but I do have a perspective that I'm trying to. I think we've started campaigning way too late, but that's all right as a ticket.
Are you
but it is
are you campaigning in your mayoralty to also help raise your profile to get re-elected a councillor? Is that sort of a part of it, or is that more the byproduct? You're going for the mayoralty, but if you don't get it, hopefully you'll get to be a councillor.
Well, initially I started talking with young mana whenua student leaders who organised fora at the university for Māori and Pasifika candidates in 22. And I said to them at the end, why aren't you running for council? And this is 19-year-olds and 22-year-olds. And they were saying, oh, we've got time. And I said, Aaron Hawkins is the only councillor under 40 years of age.
Wow.
So my hope, I started out about a year ago, or maybe, last year, talking to mana whenua and mātai waka young people, saying, if Mr. Sims thinks he can buy the mayoralty without having sat on council, why can't mana whenua, in particular, rakatahi who have grown up around iwi politics, why can't they do the same without having sat on council? And I said to them in a meeting, if you were to run for mayor and I was to support you, we'd run on the same ticket. I think you'd get much more reach than I would as a mayoral candidate. But it's ended up, everyone said, no, I asked so many people, Pākehā, mana whenua, mātai waka, Palestinians, and they said, no, we can't do it at this time. So, okay, I have to put my hand up.
Well, good luck. for that.
Thank you.
All the best for both campaigns. And thank you for the work you've been doing as a councillor this time around as well. Is that what we say, Chewie? Thank you for your service. That's what we're supposed to say. Is that the right way? Something like that. Thank you for your anyway.
I would say my own personal view of your work on the council, Marie, is you've been an absolute stalwart of really progressive policies and a vision for Dunedin that I thoroughly agree with.
So,
thank you. Keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and joining us today, because there is another story that you have you have intimate knowledge of. It's happened to you, to do with the pressure that Taxpayers Union is putting on mayoralty candidates, and I'm assuming around the country. Now, unfortunately, the story is behind a paywall for ODT. And for the one story a year, I'm not going to pay the subscription to get one story out. But of course, as does happen about the paywall, people have taken it off and put it on various other sites. I'm not going to bring up the Facebook page with that it's on, but I'm looking at it right now, and it says this: Dunedin City Council candidates say they have received a barrage of emails using, quote, bullying and intimidation tactics, urging them to sign a New Zealand Taxpayers Union pledge. The lobby group says the pledge is a way for voters to assess candidates' priorities. We said last night, I think it's a misspelling. I should say for a way for voters to assess the Taxpayers Union's priorities. That's with a bit of a miss there. Although many of Dunedin's mayoral candidates have said it is misinformed and impractical. A little side question: do you know if some, many, most, none of the Dunedin mayoralty candidates have actually signed this pledge?
I don't think many have. I saw Councillor Van der Vee's reply all, and he just said it's dumb to have a rates cap without having a debts cap. So I assumed he wouldn't be signing.
I mean, you can say what you say about Lee Vanderbus, but there's some fairness in that response, at least, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You yourself, and this is from the story, said the pledge was a simplistic dog whistle designed to appeal to anti-Māori voters. Now, I've got everything here. I've got the pledge, but I think that what we'll do is just have a look. It seems to be based around this idea of cap rates now, and we heard Ruth Richardson say this about 47 times when she was on Q&A a few weeks ago. The actual ratepayers, the pledge is this right here, if you're looking at the screen, ratepayer protection pledge. I won't read it all out, but amongst other things it says, I, sucker who has been forced to do this because I don't want to, standing for lovely place in New Zealand, pledge that I will oppose any measures that will see the total burden of rates, levies and additional council charges exceed the level of inflation and population growth. I might as well read them. Number 2, support initiatives that improve transparency of council expenditure, including the public disclosure of all expenditure items known as armchair audit and open data. And the third one is oppose unelected appointments onto council committees with spending or regulatory powers. I've also got this series of emails that were sent with some highlights here. So, but maybe we'll do this before we get to the pressure campaign by the TPU. Why don't you give us some views, some thoughts, your thoughts about this oversimplistic dog whistle that you're calling it, what they're actually trying to do with this pledge? Love to get your thoughts.
Well, I didn't contextualize it when I responded to the ODT journalist who sent the 3 questions or 4 questions about this pledge thing. But I recall very well during the Three Waters, I don't know what you call it, debacle, we received hundreds of letters, emails, all form, the same letter, just signed by different people. And I just saw the pledge, the Taxpayer Union behind it, the same thing for this, which is why I called it dog whistling, because I see number 3 in the pledge as even though they don't mention Māori wards or Māori members of committees, they're actually talking about unelected members. As far as I'm concerned, they mean Māori, mana whenua members on our committees, because that's the kind of kōrero rhetoric that gets debated whenever we 22, I think, having mana whenua representatives on our two most important committees, infrastructure services and planning and strategy, or whatever you call it, planning and environment. That was the constant kōrero. Unelected members on council committees. Now, we've had unelected members and independent chairs on our audit and risk committee. So are they is the Taxpayers Union targeting that? I don't think so, which is why I call it dog whistling. Because as far as I'm concerned, the whole barrage of anti-co-governance during the Three Waters, and it's continuing, in my opinion, in this particular instance, it is dog whistling. And no one calls them out about it.
Always interesting to hear that places like the Taxpayers Union want to have a crack at Māori wards, but the rural wards, they're pretty comfortable with those ones. They just leave those ones right alone, because you'd assume if what that 0.3 means is directly aimed at Māori wards, then logic would say it technically is directly aimed at rural wards, but no one will bring that question up, will they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Chewie, any thoughts, sir?
I saw an opinion, shall we say, that the reason that councillors have received a barrage of these emails is basically the tax dodgers onion farmed it out to their followers to send these emails in. So it just arrived as a barrage of the same thing or the same requests sent from many, many people, which is where this whole, holy shit, is this a campaign of harassment sort of thing? Is that what you've seen on your end?
Well, so the first one that I received, or that we would have received, came from David Farrer. And then the second one came from Peter Williams on their taxpayer unions, and, he's saying, this is not good enough and you have 2 days, blah, blah, blah. And then came the, the other form emails from voters. And then yesterday morning or afternoon came one from Sam Warren, again from Taxpayers Union, saying, voting starts tomorrow. You still have time to sign up to the pledge. So which I think is bullying.
Let's have a look at this, right? And just be aware, these first, I think, 5 or 6 are in the space of a week. It's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They're all one day after. The first one was from David Farrer. It said, I'm just going to read out some of the kind of highlighting points to see, as Marie has said, the advancement of the conversation and the language and the pressure. He says this: based on my polling by my company Courier, I can confidently say most voters agree with the 3 limbs of the pledge. Rates to be held to inflation, no more unelected members of council, and increase spending transparency. Support for capping rates, talked about that, to inflation especially, had a very strong and broad support. Overall, it is supported 3-1. And then he goes through a whole series of facts and figures. He says New Zealand First people actually supported it 5-1, and Te Pāti Māori supported it 5-3. That was sort of the difference. I understand the Taxpayers Union has send you, so there you go, Mr. Ferry, probably want to proofread your articles, sent you a copy of the Ratepayer Protection Pledge, but that you have not got back to them. I know you are busy, but with literally hundreds of thousands of signed supporters of the Taxpayers Union, I encourage you to sign the pledge so they can endorse you as ratepayer friendly and someone their supporters should vote for. First one, I'll just do the Peter Williams one as well, because the Peter Williams one to me feels probably the most aggressive. This is from Peter Williams. This was the next day. I reached out to Taxpayers Union last night to find out who has and who hasn't yet signed the pledge to keep rates at the level of inflation and population growth, improve democracy and transparency. The Taxpayers Union tell me that your name is missing from that list. With the greatest respect, that's not good enough. If you want to say that you stand for ratepayers, you need to sign it before midday Monday. Other candidates in your race have signed the pledge, and the Taxpayers Union will be making sure your potential voters know it. Sign the document, take a picture, and send it back to me on this email. I've even chat to the Taxpayers Union. I'll even chat to the Taxpayers Union and ask them to send you some free signage or run some local adverts to support your campaign. but you must get off the fence and send me back the signed pledge. If you can't agree to all three limbs, though all seem very reasonable, at least tick just so you can get on board with sign and return. There's some more there, but Chewie, I don't know if that's the first time you've heard them. Why don't you have some thoughts first of all, Chewie?
Oh, I love the election bribe in there. That's real good. But yeah, the tone's very do this or else.
Or else. Or the boys will come see you.
Very, see me after school. I can't see that is a particularly enticing offer or approach. And let me just underline something for Mr. Williams. Just as he thinks this pledge might attract you voters, any candidate that signs this pledge is just off the list for me. Like, so I guess thank you, Taxpayers Union, for making it easier for me. But yeah, it's a bizarre sort of thing, and Paul Barlow in his series has rightly flagged any candidate that is going, hey, we need to do a rates cap, as someone that is very much in that ultra right-wing camp and just doesn't understand the challenges that are ahead of councils. We've had decades of underinvestments because everybody campaigns on, I'll keep your rates low, I won't put up your rates. Oh shit, all of our pipes are broken now.
Yeah.
So it's just flying in the face of reality.
Yeah. I'd recommend that you interview Brian Cadogan if you haven't already, as outgoing Clutha district mayor, because he talks about when he got in, he said he kept the promise to keep rates increases under 4%, but I don't know if he'd make that same promise again. And it's so sad. It's so sad that he's not standing because, during the co-governance, Three Waters crap, his wife had to take self-defense measures on, the threats that they received. So, So he's saying, no, you can't promise rates caps. It's just flying in the face of reality.
I'm not sure if it's Cadogan or not, but the mayor of Gore, that area. This is the example we often use about Three Waters. I mean, Gore, this is back in 2021, Gore needed $300 million to fix one part, fresh water, one part of their Three Waters issue. And we work, that's over 6,000 ratepayers. So that's not possible for them, to do. They're screwed without a centralised payment for that because they can't afford that. And they're screwed because, as Chewie said, the previous councils have kicked the can down the road because they didn't want to be the ones to put the rates up. And also they might be screwed, but there's no line of demarcation between, let's say, Gore's water and Dunedin's water. They flow between each other. So if they're screwed and they're getting things like Legionnaire's disease, I'm not saying they are, not casting that over Gore, but something in their pipes, there's not like a filter between them and us to stop all that coming to Dunedin or to Invercargill or to Queenstown, however the water's flowing. So this idea that you can cap rates carte blanche at 2.6 degrees, which I think is what inflation is right now. What happens if you need 5% increases to start getting back on track? What you're actually then pledging to do is you're pledging to further the problem to the next council. And anyone who can't see that, like, I don't care if you're a ratepayer who does that, if you can't see that that's maybe what your area needs, then you are a harm to your area, not a help. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's my two main objections to the Taxpayers Union strategy, whatever, I guess they have one, is that they harp on about democracy. Now, as far as I'm concerned, democracy is a sacred cow that actually needs some critiquing, and it comes from a slave-owning state. Only the elites got the vote.
Yeah.
So I don't know when the slaves ever got enfranchised in in slave-owning Greece. So let's be clear when you're talking about democracy. It has never worked for tangata whenua. It's never worked for by settler societies. So let's talk about this democracy stuff. And the other thing is that the whole focus on rates is you're constraining the discussion so that we only focus on rates, but no one actually talks about the need to actually do some deep diving into the affordability of rates. And the last time that this was done, apparently, according to Morgan Edwards, who is a PhD candidate at University of Otago doing modern monetary economics, I think, or modern monetary theory, he'd make a good interviewee on your show, because he's actually talking about I've had a couple of information sessions with him, and he's talking about a mechanism called off-balance sheet fiscal agencies, which he says have been utilized in Europe for decades precisely to fund infrastructure. So Morgan Edwards would be really good for you to talk to, so that we can expand the debate instead of stop talking on a hamster wheel and get off the hamster wheel and actually have a real good discussion.
Let's ramp up these emails, because then you started to also receive emails, as you've been saying, these form emails. And this is one that's a form email that's come in from an alleged voter. As a Dunedin City ratepayer, I will only be voting for candidates that have signed the Ratepayer Protection Pledge and return it to the Taxpayers Union. I feel it's time for the DCC.
My voting tactic just cancels her out.
Yeah, there you go.
Just so, if she's watching, just so she knows.
To get back in the local basic services, they are meant to get debt under control and not cause citizens of Dunedin unnecessary hardship without the control rate increases. So this is one that's come in from an individual who happens to also be a person who doesn't want Dunedin to have electric buses and thinks children should pay when they use public transport, because I did a bit of research on the person who sent that in to you today. There is the draft regional public transport plan, where that person also said electric buses are far too expensive for a city the size of Dunedin with the amount of ridership we have. Electric buses are unreliable in the city. Battery is not recyclable. I know, Chewie, you don't need to jump in right now. Production and manufacturing of buses is just polluting and done in China. And the last question in the group for this person was, should the council retain free fares, 100% discount for children 5 to 12? No. A fare of $1 is more reasonable for children or youth. So that's the same. Just so you know, Marie, that's the person who will only vote for you. Yeah, good one, if you sign the sign. That's the only. So if you sign the sign, the person that wants kids not to have free transport and thinks electricity or electrical vehicles are a pollution, that person will vote for you. You just got to sign the pledge. Just got to sign the pledge, Marie, you'll be there. So that's what you're up against, which I think we all know is that's the horse shit of this. None of these people are going to vote for you either way. So, and what happens if no one signs the fee? If no one signs the pledge, then that person can't vote for anyone, and then we eliminate their vote overall. That'd be kind of nice, eh?
Yeah.
Let's just have a look one more thing, because if we should wrap up there's several of those emails. Let's just have this one more. This is the one that you said was sent today, because if you want to think about twisting the arm, this is the one that was sent yesterday morning, and it was sent by Sam Warren, local government campaigns manager for the New Zealand Taxpayers Union. It says in part this: remember, you do not have to. So they're getting more and more desperate. It's like, will you take 3? Will you take no? How about 2? Will you do 2? No, how about 1? So they're getting more and more desperate for anything. Remember, you do not have to agree with all 3 of the text boxes, just what you think works best towards rates, transparency and democracy. Yes, I will sign. Your signage will be added. There you go. This is the I think it's going to be exposure for you. Your signage will be added to the list of candidates who wear their policies on their sleeves. Voters will be able to see who resonates best with their positions as they cast their vote. We can accept late responses as our ratepayer voting guide website will be updated live, but to return as soon as possible to ensure your name is listed clearly for voters. To answer another question we have received, we will also be sending out ratepayer protection pledge signs and stickers to add to your hoardings. Just reply to this email with your address for shipping. I'd be worried about giving the Taxpayers Union your personal address, Marie. Who knows where that might end up. So that's a kind of full guide. There's 6 or 7 emails we got to. Then there was a few more that I didn't because they were just more copies of those rote ones. How do you feel, Marie, about the tactics of the Taxpayers Union? That's what we haven't talked about yet. What they're actually trying to do to twist the arm of candidates.
Yeah, well, I guess that's why I said what I said to the ODD journalists, and I see it as bullying. I see it as intimidation, attempted intimidation, because if candidates don't know enough about the Taxpayers Union and all the other astroturfing groups that they're all part of, they all seem to be the same people, in my opinion. Then candidates I think candidates will get bullied if they don't know enough about the how long Taxpayers Union have been adopting these tactics and strategies, and they're very wealthy and powerful people. And I think they're just trying to appeal to the lowest denominator, and to people who may not have the same information or strategies, and are not so wealthy, but they get caught up in all this crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been really interesting chat. Thanks for coming on. Chewie, is there any other questions you've got for Marie before we move on?
I do have a question. I don't know how to phrase it well. I noticed the candidate meeting at the up at Opahall over the last couple of nights. I've noticed some very interesting replies to some of those questions, especially the question, if you're not going to be the mayor, who are your top 3? Were you surprised at some of the answers that your fellow councillors gave? And I'm more talking about people that I was surprised that they said Lee Vandervis in their top 3.
Yeah.
Is that surprising to you?
Yeah. Like, I don't understand why people, support that dude.
Yeah. I mean, he's a combative, argumentative man, and I don't see what he would bring to the mayor's position. But hey, as I said, it's answers like those that make my choice out of all of these candidates very, very easy. It's dropped a couple right down for me, and it's eliminated a handful of other ones for getting a ranking at all.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah,
just very surprising.
But in some ways, it's a, what do you call it? It's a closed, it's an echo chamber in lots of ways, unfortunately. But that's all right. So I guess with our little building called Tahitaka, we're actually trying to appeal to those who don't vote or are not registered. And so we don't actually see those people who come to those forums as our constituency or our voters, but it's interesting to go along and participate. Yeah.
Hey, Marie, thanks so much for coming and joining us tonight.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, no, mate, anytime.
Lovely having you on.
It's good, Lovely having you on. And if you need anything else, just shout out. Good luck for the campaign, whether it be mayoralty or councillor. And I guess this is a good time, because everyone watching is in different parts of the country, to encourage people to engage in local body politics wherever you are as well. There will be people like Marie, good people in your region that need your votes, and you should get out there and do it. That is Marie Laufiso. Thank you so much for joining us, Marie. We'll talk to you next time.